Well, that's the secret, and that's the thing that people often talk to me about.
Hello and welcome to Meet the Coach. I'm your host, my name's Carla, Egan, and today we're going to be talking about the difference between struggle and success. My guest today is Sue Glendenning from The Quantum Results. Sue's been a very successful corporate senior manager, and for the past 15 years, she's run her own coaching business. Welcome, Sue. Good morning. Hello, and thanks for joining us today.
Good morning, and it's absolutely my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, before we jump to our theme of the critical difference between success and struggle, can you share in your own words how you made the transition from a very successful corporate career, which took an unexpected direction into coaching? Can you share with us your journey?
Well, thank you. It does seem like a bit of a quantum leap when I look back and I consider what happened over that time. And I spent about 10 years in advertising and marketing, which was very at a senior management level, which was certainly a very interesting world to be part of. And then I was poached, I guess. I was asked to take on a role with a large IT corporation, and it was to start up a new business unit. So that was a super challenge because I had to learn all about the company's processes as well as really understand being a leader and running a team and understanding all the expectations and KPIs and all the things that go with a corporate job. But I loved it. I loved the challenge and so much learning involved, and I think challenges, which has always been a big thing for me. You know, you grab those challenges and you run with them. And then I was offered opportunity to start up another business unit within the company. So I was running two, general manager of both. But that was a huge toll, really, when I look back, probably on all parts of my life. I was just lucky I had a really supportive husband and family. But I think it came to a point, and there were a few things that happened. It just came to a point I decided that it was time to go and it was time for a change. And I needed to stop. So it was a case of where to. So I actually left that job, and people were astonished because they said, you probably in a few years think about retiring. This is a great job. They want you to stay. Why on earth are you leaving? But I knew there had to be something better. For me, there was something else. There was something different. So I didn't have another job, if you like, to go to. And that was probably the biggest benefit, because I needed then to start finding my purpose. And that was what I knew had to happen. I needed to find my purpose and my passion, and I found that in coaching. And it was actually my son who suggested that I study to become a coach. So I literally went back to school and I studied and qualified. And from that very first week, I knew that was my path. That was where I was meant to be. And I just loved it. I loved everything about it and all the opportunities and the possibilities, and it just kept opening up and opening up and opening up all the time. So I learned very early to take a risk and take on challenges and just go for it.
And the coaching industry is benefits from having you join us, particularly given your corporate experience. Now, you've been in coaching since 2014 and it's exploded. The industry is the second fastest growing industry globally. What are some of the changes and some of the challenges that you've noticed, Sue, over that period of time?
I think for me, one of the things I've noticed, there are a lot of courses, shall I say, being made available, and people are jumping in, and it's lovely to learn things, and it's lovely to to acquire new knowledge and learn new things. But a lot of coaches out there are not experienced. They're not qualified, and that for me is a big issue. I would be very happy to see the industry regulated, because we work with people on such a personal level. So having that qualification, I'm very fortunate I was able to back that up with my corporate experience. So when I work particularly with women who are either in the corporate space or coming out of that space, I appreciate what they're going through because I've been there. But there have been a lot of changes to coaching. I think one of them, though, that I see is that we do need to regulate the business to make sure that our coaches are qualified and passionate about what they're doing.
What's a common myth that you'd like to debunk about coaching and the coaching industry?
That's a great question. One of the most common myths, I think, is that coaches will fix you or coaches will change you. And people sometimes come in and say, I just need you to fix me, or I just need to change. Pardon me, can you make that happen? So it's people who make the change. It's our clients who make the change. We just help them. We just make that possible and create the path, and create the possibility.
Wonderful, thank you. Now, coaching is about finding a good fit between the client and the coach. So in terms of the work that you do, Sue, what's an ideal client look like for you?
I have male clients as well, but I do love working with women in business because I understand, as I said, what it's like for women out there in the business world, and often in a male-dominated sphere. And I appreciate the role that the males play. I mean, I have two amazing adult sons who are both awesome in their own specific fields. But I know women in business often struggle, and women in the corporate areas often struggle with that sort of male and an old-fashioned thinking for many of them. So I can help them through that. I can help them through those challenges. I appreciate that sometimes that feeling of loss of confidence and not quite having clarity around what you're doing. And that little bit of, as I said, the confidence is a big issue. But being heard, and learning to earn respect. I often talk to people about teaching people how to treat you. So you need to respect yourself and you expect to be respected by other people. And I love working with people in that space.
You've written a couple of books, actually, around this topic, and I want to focus on one that I've had the pleasure of reading, and I want to talk about women in business and what inspired you to write that.
It came from one chapter. I think it's the one about life balance, and I always refer to it as life balance, not work-life balance, because it's about your entire life. It's not just about work in one area and the rest of your life over here. It's about life balance. So, and so many women speak to me about this, and I appreciate this feeling myself. You think, my goodness, there's so many balls in the air. How am I going to manage all of these things and all of these expectations? And I was just having that conversation one day, and I made some notes, and I thought I might write a short article on this. And it went from there, and the article just got bigger and bigger. And I thought, well, there's also this and there's also this. So it was the issues that I've discussed with women over time. So I just made each of them a chapter and wrote the book. That's where it came from.
That's fantastic. And I trust it inspires other people to put pen to paper and express what they want and what they're passionate about. But in your book, you talk about that one critical difference between struggle and success. So I'd love you to elaborate on that, because that is the theme of our interview today.
Well, that's the secret. And that's the thing that people often talk to me about. And you know what? That one critical difference is you. It's you. It's how you think and how you feel, and whether or not you're prepared to make the changes that you need to make to get to where you want to be. So it's understanding that a lot of the challenges that you're facing are your own challenges, or they've come from your belief system. So once that's changed, everything else changes. There's only so much you can change in the outside world, but there's an awful lot that you can change within, but that impacts on your results. So your thoughts equal your actions, and your actions equal your results. Most coaches will have learned that at some point. But I think for people to understand that critical difference is you. The way you think, the way you feel, what you understand about your own thinking, and how that leads to behaviour patterns and what the results that you're getting in life in general. So it's quite simple, really.
I love that. And obviously you unpack that at a greater level with each of your clients. Now, I know you've worked with hundreds of clients over the past 15 years. What's been a really great resource for you, Sue, for your growth and for your business's growth?
Resource personally, I think my own intuition, if you like. Trust your gut feeling. I often say to people, trust your instincts. So important to do that. And I have been told quite often that I'm able to read people and get a feeling for what is really going on for them. So they may present with one issue and they're talking about one thing, but I just have a feeling that there's something else going on. And usually, we can peel back those layers fairly quickly to get to the root cause and find out about the core issue. And that's what will drive change. Once you find out what that core issue is, and we can get in and address that, everything else changes. So I suppose for me, it's that trusting my instinct.
Fabulous. There's a common theme that's coming across in our interview together is your desire to help people. So let's talk about your business in the current environment. What's the biggest challenge you're facing right now, Sue, and how are you tackling that?
Different things happening or things not happening, I suppose. So people aren't able to travel. We can't do face-to-face coaching. There's all of these things that are impacting on the business. So it's adjusting to not only working with clients via Zoom, although I have interstate clients I work with online anyway, but it's about helping them adjust and helping them through that time of feeling disconnected often. So it's not like sitting in the room with somebody where you can connect physically and emotionally. You're trying to do that through a screen. And for many people, that's difficult. So making that adjustment so people feel they're in a really safe and productive environment, and they're in an environment where they can get the result that they want to get and work with you in the best possible way. So I suppose that's been the biggest adjustment for all of us, but also managing people's energy around that, their stress levels around that, and building resilience. I think resilience is a word that we all need to be aware of at the moment, and it's making those adjustments and just looking. I always think, what's another way I can do that? What's another way I can think about that? Instead of saying, I don't have this, I can't do this, it's always, what's another way I could do that? What's a better way to do that? So I always just call them speed humps, and if I'm faced with a speed hump, I either go over it or I go around it, but I never ever let it stop me.
I like the terminology speed humps, and people experience them in all different facets of their life. So what's a really good tip to overcome a speed hump that you'd like to share today?
Overcome is such a good word. When you think about it and really think about it in context, overcome is a great word. And that's exactly what you're doing. So I often say to my clients, so if you're faced with a speed hump, what do? Do you drive over it? Or do you decide maybe to drive around it? Or do you back up, completely back up and say, I'm just going to retreat from this, it's all too hard? Or do you just sit there? And usually people say, well, of course I go over it. And I said, that's exactly right. You go over it. And then you see what's on the other side. So it's a case of what is the best way to do this? As I said before, what's another way I can think about that to make this work for me? So don't let things stop you. Don't let things become speed humps. So overcoming is an excellent word, because that's exactly what we do. We overcome a challenge or a problem, and we move forward, and often to a much better result than what we expected.
Wonderful. I love your analogy around that, and I can see how your clients get the results that they're getting because of that. So for someone interested in looking for a coach, Sue, what's a piece of advice that you would give them?
My advice is to find the best coach for you. So investigate a little bit and maybe talk to a couple of coaches, but please find somebody who's qualified, because you're working with a very important thing in your mind. You know, it's your emotions and your mind and your thought processes. And sometimes we need to dig in there a little bit. So you need to work with somebody that you feel really comfortable with and that you trust. So if you have a coach, for instance, who's offering a strategy session call or just an introductory call, just to have a chat, to sort of get to know each other, take advantage of that, because it's a great way to have a talk to your coach, get to know them, and you may find that they're not a really good fit for you. So I would suggest talking to a couple of coaches first. Find the person that fits with you, but please find somebody who's qualified.
I like that. The decision to decide to get a coach is almost as important as deciding which coach that you choose and finding that right match. What does joining the coaching directory mean to you, Sue, for you and your business?
I think this is a wonderful idea. So congratulations on creating it, Carla. It's a great idea because it helps not just coaches, of course, but it helps people out there in the community to find a good coach. So it is a community of coaches, but it's all different types of coaches. So coaches deal with different things. You have life coaches and leadership coaches and relationship coaches. And so it's a great way to find the right person for you, either by category, and then you can investigate people a little bit more, read about them, find out what they've written, who they've worked with, and then maybe have a conversation with them. So it's a great tool for people to be able to find the right coach for them. But it's also a great tool for coaches. It's a wonderful community for coaches.
Wonderful, Sue. And as we wrap up our interview today, what's a key takeaway that you'd like to leave us with?
I think a key takeaway is always respect yourself and others, and set an intention. I think I'd love to everybody to consider setting an intention every day around what the day is going to be like for them and what you're going to make of it. And if it's going to be a challenging day, say, I'm going to find the best possible way through this challenge. Talk to the right person, find the right tool, but set an intention, and always, you respect yourself and you respect others. And I think we need to be a lot kinder to each other and our planet. I'm very passionate about looking after the planet and all that we take from it. So, I think just respect, and it's all around respect, integrity, and setting an intention to be the best that you can possibly be.
That brings us to the end of our interview. And thank you, Sue Glendenning from Quantum Results, for joining us today on Meet the Coach. I've really enjoyed getting to know you a little bit more and understand your journey and how you got into coaching back in 2014. As always, thanks for watching and enjoying Meet the Coach. We look forward to catching up with you in our next episode. I'm your host, Carla Egan from the Coaching Directory, where we connect you to your ideal coach.